Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers, your instructor for ANY 150, and this is Module 3, and this is Part 2 of our Dagger tutorial. So let's go ahead and go to the side or the front view here real quick, and we're going to do is going to create a cube. So create a cube, and go ahead and pull that up, and let's get in a little bit closer. Let's move that cube over. And we're just going to get the basic shape. I'm going to go ahead and mirror this over when we're all finished. We're going to do the blade the same way and that way we can just mirror everything over. Let's go ahead and move this up. Now I'm not too worried about extruding this out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add edge loops. It's going to be a little different than what I did the handle. And there's a reason for that, just because I have a lot of experience doing this work. And I realized that I'm just going to get the shape first, and if I were to extrude it, I'd have to scale in and scale in and scale in, and because what's going to happen here is we want this piece to actually close off. Okay, so if we do this, it's a lot less work. So I'm going to go ahead and shape this into the shape that I need, right, to the shape of this, and that's going to be a lot easier for us to control. Okay, so if we need, and what I want to do is kind of get the basic shape. Now we've got some other images that, let's go ahead and take a look at how that looks. Let's go into the images that I've actually given you, and let's take a look at that. Now see how narrow that is. It's really nice that I was able to find this image, because we can really see how thick this is compared to the rest, because we got a little bit of a perspective going on here, which is nice. Okay, so let's take a look at that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead. Now that gives me a real good idea how thin we need to make that at the very end. And I think we're really close to that, the part that we need to be. Okay, so I think that's really good. Just a little bit more maybe. There we go. So now all we have to do is go in here and go to the front view. And let's go ahead and add edge loops. So now we can go in here and insert edge loops if we want to. And let's keep those close together. Okay, something like that. All the way down. There we go. There we go. And then maybe one more. Okay, awesome. Okay, so that looks really good. So now we can just move these vertices around the way we need to. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll start with this one. And we'll just kind of move that so it's flat. Okay, and as we go down, you can see it curving down. And let's go ahead and move. Now we could move that down a little bit farther, because let's just go ahead and create it exactly. Follow that line so we get that nice curve all the way down. There we go. Oops. And you're going to find yourself grabbing that accidentally. The way to get rid of that, I'm just going to hit the Q key and then hit the W key again. Just kind of follow that. I went down too far with that. You got to be really careful. It's just slightly down. There we go. I'm going to move that up. Another thing is, if it's getting in your way, what you can do, I like this about this, the plus and minus key will make your arrows a lot smaller so they don't get in the way. So if you're doing this small little detail like this, you can hit the negative arrow, makes it smaller, and the plus sign makes it bigger. So you can make it small so it doesn't get in the way, and that's a way of just getting around that issue and problem that I'm having right now. So let's move that in a little bit like that. There we go. Okay, so this looks kind of weird. And let's go ahead and just move that down a little bit. I'm just going to move this down. I'm not going to follow it exactly. We're going to bring it down a little bit. Okay, like that. I want it to be extremely smooth right here. As smooth as we can get it. Okay. I'm going to move this up just a little bit. There we go. Alright, so I want that nice and smooth. That looks pretty good. I like that. Okay. So let's take a look from this viewport. And you can see we've got a nice... You can see that nice line here that's coming in. That looks great. Okay. Now the whole thing looks a little thick to me, right? You know? So I think let's take a look at that image again. There we go. So you can see how it actually billows out quite a bit right there and comes in. So it starts flat and then it goes in. So it billows out quite a ways. So we need to look at that. It's a little tighter up here. It's almost matching that, but it's a little bit smaller up here. It's wider down here. So we got to keep that in mind as we're modeling. Let's go ahead and go back to the image, or back to Maya, and let's kind of put that in there. So basically what's happening here is on the top part, let's go to the top view. I'm going to hit the 4 key so you can see what's happening here. So what's happening is that it should go up and in. Okay, so let's go to vertex mode. Let's click on that, and sometimes that happens where you accidentally select this one too. Just click on this again, and you can right click over somewhere else and then click on vertex. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go in here and hit the R key, and I'm going to hit the plus sign. There we go. And I'm going to move that in just a little bit, scale that in. It's going to be flatter right here. Okay, and I'm going to take this guy right here, and I'm going to scale that in just a little bit. You can see, like that. Okay. And then I'm going to select everything else and scale that in just a little bit. So we get that kind of a round effect. And I can continue that down if I want to. But I think that looks pretty good. Right? That looks pretty good. I might do that even more a little bit as I go down. And it's hard because you can see that these two and these two, you can see, match up, right? Alright, so I got to be really super careful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select these two, and I'm going to go to the front view and make sure that nothing else is selected, right? And I'm going to go ahead and scale that in just a bit. I'm going to go to the next ones. Now notice that I'm selecting these other guys and I don't want to, so I'm going to have to deselect those. So hold the control key down. And I'm going to go ahead and scale these in just a little bit, like that, just a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to continue going down. Sometimes I can't do it anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to click on this guy right here, and this is the lasso tool. Okay, so this will allow me to select just like that. I'm holding down the left mouse button and just lassoing it around. Go to the top part, and that's how I can do those. I'm going to scale these in a little bit like that. Okay, you can see that nice round effect that I'm getting, and that's what I was missing before. So let's go to this front view again, and I'm going to go to the lasso tool again. I'm just going to go ahead and select that one, and when I do that, it gets rid of those. So this is the last one I'm going to do. Let's see what else we have here. I'm going to move that in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so it's kind of goes in, and we're kind of flattening it out here at the very end. See, like that. So it kind of goes in, and then it kind of comes out again. So it gives it that really nice, it kind of like that, kind of goes out and then back in. So it's kind of like a wave, and that's what we're looking for. Okay. Right. Cool. Let's go ahead and go to that view again. Let's take a look. And that's kind of what we got. We're kind of going out and going back in and then flattening out at the very end. You get that nice shape right there. So that's really important to get at different angles. Otherwise, I probably would have modeled this differently and not got it as correct. And that can be a real issue. Alright, so I'm probably going to go a little bit more with this. Let's go ahead and do this one again. So I want this to flatten out a little bit more so we get more of a round feel. Kind of comes around like that. There we go. And we'll do a little bit more here. So let's go ahead and back into lasso tool. And we'll squeeze it in just a little bit like that. So it kind of comes out and then goes back in. Just accentuate that a little bit more. There we go. Yeah, that's looking good. I like that. Okay, cool. Looks good. And a lot of times I'll just hit the 3 key just for fun to see, because we, when we do hard surface modeling, the high poly stuff, we're going to have to put edge loops in here. But right now, this is the low poly. I still don't like this. I think that looks weird. So I'm going to take some artistic freedom just a little, not a lot, and move this down. Just kind of, just looks weird. And I just think this side is off a little bit, to be honest with you, than the other side. Again, I don't think the craftsmanship of this weapon was, it wasn't very precise, because this side looks great. I probably should model this side first and then mirror it over, but this side doesn't look as good as that one. Okay, so we're close. That looks good. Alright, so some of the things I'm going to do now, I think we're at that point, is I'm going to go ahead and select everything and go into selection mode and go into the selection mode up here, object mode, and select everything, and delete by type history and freeze transformations. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out of the way. Whoops. Just select this guy. Move it out of the way. Now I can do that. Okay. Now the reason why I'm not scared is because I froze the transformation, so if I move that, I can come back and just hit 0 and it goes right back where I need to. Okay, so I'm going to move it out of the way so I can see it. And I suppose I could do this. I could isolate select it. I don't know if I showed you guys this yet. Isolate selection is a wonderful tool that allows you to go in here and isolate just the object that you have, and the hotkey is Control 1. And this allows me to just see that. I can do Control 1 again, and that shows me everything. So I'm going to go Control 1 with the object selected, and it kind of isolates that selection. Okay. You can also go to Show, Isolate Select, View Selected, Show, Isolate Select, and click on it again. So you can see that does the same thing. Okay. I'm going to go Control 1. I want it to just isolate, so I'm just going to do Control 1, and I'm going to go ahead and paint the top and get rid of these vertices. Okay. So I'm going to click off the object and go to the paint mode and just select those vertices on top. And I'm going to rotate around. I'm going to hit the F key to focus on that. And also I'm going to hit the 4 key. I go back and forth between hitting the 4 key and the 5 key. And that's important because that allows me to see if there's any faces at the, that I selected accidentally. I'm going to hit the 5 key again and go to the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and select these guys down here. There we go. And hit the 4 key again. Just double check. And what we're going to do is we're going to just delete those pieces. We don't need them. So I'm going to hit the Q key and hit delete key. There we go. So now we kind of got an open cylinder. Alright. That's good. Alright, great. Now there's some, I will warn you that there are some packages that don't like open-ended polygons. Okay? And one of those is Mudbox. So if you know you're going to go into Mudbox, or if you're going to go, if you know you're going to go into ZBrush, in which we're not going to be using Mudbox. Maybe the next, we'll be using Mudbox in our next when we're doing the sci-fi crate. But right now we're just doing the basics, so I'm not worried about that. But I want you to be aware that if you have open-ended cylinder and it's not a closed polygon, Mudbox and ZBrush kind of squawk about that. May not even let you load it. So be mindful of that. Okay? Alright, cool. So with that said, I'm going to go in here. And we can select this. And let's go in here and do Control 1. Don't forget that we got Isolate Selectors on. And we're just going to get rid of this face right here. Okay, so let's get rid of that. And now we can go in here and do the blade. So everything is looking pretty good. So now the blade is just basically a cube. Okay, same thing. Alright, and we're going to move that into place. Notice I'm kind of basically kind of going right into that. I'm not too worried about that part. I can go in here and do select the vertices and just move it down a little bit, but we do want it to go inside that object. And we're going to go ahead and move these over. Okay, now this is the same kind of thing that I was talking about before, where we could probably extrude that all the way down, but I prefer to go ahead and move these vertices down just right now, get it all the way to the end. Okay, and then we kind of go in here and just do this real quick little thing like that. And I'm going to go ahead, because I don't want these to slant all the way down, and it tends to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this square right now, like that. And I'm also going to keep this one square too. I should have kept that one square too as well. Alright, so I'll keep that nice and smooth. There we go. Alright, so the idea now is to go in here and just add subdivisions all the way down. Keep it really, really even if you can. Just the same all the way down. And it's okay if you mess up. It's not a big deal at all. You can always move these. And as you go down, we get to the blade, kind of goes in and slowly goes in. Again, game engines can handle a lot of vertices now. I'm not entirely too worried about having too many subdivisions. Now, obviously, there's a place, where you could waste, subdivisions, and I think this is okay. The way I have it right here, and let's go in here to vertex mode. Now we can move it down, and now we can move this in. So I'm going to go ahead. And the thing is, we're going to follow that. You can see it's going in just a slight bit there. And we want to follow that exactly because this blade, we don't want it to be jaggedy looking, and we want it to be nice and straight. So you got to find a spot where you're comfortable, and go in there, and just go ahead and bring that all in. There we go. Perfect. When you get this close, dagger seems big, doesn't it? This is a pretty long dagger. I'm getting to the bottom here. And again, you can mess with these. You just kind of move them around. Now, I usually like to bring this up for the point. Now obviously the point isn't really working that well. Let's take a look at this. Hold on a minute. Let's move that up. Move that out a little bit, and this needs to be moved over. Here we go. So that looks pretty good. And let's bring that down a little bit like that. I think you get the idea. Alright, so now it's going to go in here, and we want to get rid of all of these faces over here. That's super important. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and use the paint tool. That's the lasso tool, paint tool. Hold the shift key and go all the way down. This makes it a lot easier. And just go to the other side. I'm going to hit the 4 key just to kind of make sure. And let's go ahead and delete those. Hit the delete key. There you go. Now on this side here, what we're going to do is we're going to select with the selection tool. We'll start down here and vertex mode. Okay. And at the bottom, and we're going to select those at the bottom, and then we're going to select, oh, I can't do those. Can I? No. So what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to go to, hold down spacebar and go to merge center. So you can see merge to center. Okay. And then I'm going to click on that one. I'm going to hit the G key and the G key, and you can see I'm going to go all the way up on the outside now. And you can see what's happening here. Hit the F key. I'm kind of tapering that to an edge, right? So I'm going to hit the G key. You can see that as I'm going up, right? And we're going to thin this out, don't worry. And we're going to go all the way up the blade and just hitting the G key all the way up. I'm just selecting and hitting the G key. Select, hit, going all the way up. And you can't select more than just one because it'll collapse them together, and you don't want to do that. So we're just doing one set together all the way up. Alright, so let's take a look. So that's what it looks like. Alright, cool. Alright. And then we can go down the blade. We'll start at the top, and we're going to go all the way down, like that. And you're probably going to accidentally select this guy right here, which we don't want to do. And we want to collapse it. So let's go ahead and scale that. Hit the R key and scale that in like that. So it looks like it's thick enough for a blade, right? Makes sense. There we go. How thick is that blade? I have no idea. Maybe it's thicker in the middle. Let's bring that out a little bit more, like that. Maybe it's quite a bit thicker there. And then as it goes down, it gets thinner and thinner. Okay. So what we're going to do now is just we're going to go ahead and thin that out a little bit. Now, this is the point where it becomes really difficult to thin this out. So I'm going to go from the bottom up. So that's what I'm going to end up doing. That's probably a lot easier to do. So let's go ahead and just select this guy right here. And as I'm going to go up, I'm going to go to the side view. You can see this will be a little bit easier for me. I'm just going to go in there and just thin it out to where it's kind of, it feels right. You know, just go in there and bring it in. Okay. Bring it in. Bring it in. Bring it in. There we go. And then as we go up, we can stop doing that. So it just kind of tapers off the bottom. We'll start at the bottom again. We'll try that again. Scale that in maybe a little bit more. Scale that a little bit more. And then and so on and so forth as we go up. So we get that shape. Concave. Kind of reverse concave, I guess. I don't know. Bring that in like that. Okay. That looks pretty good, actually. Okay, so that looks pretty good. It's going down into the bottom. Okay, I might do it a little bit more. Alright, bring that in a little bit more like that. Remember, it gets pretty thick pretty quickly. That's pretty good. Alright, remember it's a dagger. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Just look, we don't have any wavy stuff. That's the main thing. We don't want a lot of wavy stuff going on there. Alright, that looks fantastic. Alright, so we're good. We got all the major components of this object. We need to do some work on this, obviously. So from the side view with that, that's kind of a problem. Hit the F key and zoom in. And the problem with this is that it's smaller on the top, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale that in just a little bit. Let's take a look what's happening here. Make sure I don't mess up. So, do I scale it in like that all together, or do I just scale it in like this a little bit and like this a little bit? Okay, that's probably going to work just fine. So, let me do this first. So, I'm going to scale in a little bit there, and I'm just going to scale it this way, right? As it gets a little bit, you know, it bulges a little bit. And we're just doing a little teensy bit at a time. And I get bigger and bigger. And then we go back down again, I think. So I'm going to go a little bit more. So I'm going to take these guys and stick it out a little bit more. So a little bit more, and then a little bit more right here. Here we go. So that looks, now we got a nice shape here. There we go. Nice. That looks good. I like that. So that's looking a lot better. Very nice. So very happy with that. Okay. That matches really well. Okay. Blade looks about right. Okay. Alright, so we do need to follow one more thing, and I'm kind of torn with this. That gap that we've got here. Not sure if I should add that or not, but I think I'm going to, because I think that's a major piece in it. It's a huge gap. I don't think I can add that as a normal map, so I'm going to actually physically put it in there. The rule of thumb, anything over 1/4 inch, you should probably model. So let's go ahead and add that. The only way to do that is to go into selection mode and then add edge loops through here, which kind of will mess things up a little bit. Not terribly bad, but we have to be careful. Alright, so we got that. And we're going to go ahead and add an edge loop. So I'm holding down the shift key, right mouse button, and go into insert edge loop. And so we're going to go ahead and insert the edge loops here. Okay. This is actually going to work out really well for us. Okay. There's our gap there. Because this is going to tighten that edge up. Okay. There we go. And we do want to have it follow this line a little bit more, right? So we're going to have to go in here and change this real quick. So I'm going to go click off and then go into vertex mode and select these two right here at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one and then that one. Hit the 4 key. Just make sure I don't have anything else selected. I'm going to select these guys too as well in wireframe mode. Hit the 5 key. Those are the two I'm really interested in. Oh, maybe this one too. There we go. And so let's go ahead and scale these in. Scale those in a little bit to kind of follow that blade. Do the same thing. I'm going to deselect these. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and scale that in. Okay. And deselect these. Hold down the control key. Go ahead and deselect those, and then we'll move those in like that. Here we go. So that looks pretty good. So with this then, this side it's not matching up very well, so I'm going to hit the W key. I'm just going to move that out and get that same distance we have with the other one. There we go. And we're going to take these two guys. Be very careful now. And I'm going to move them. Let's go to this view right here. And move them out to follow that blade a little bit better, like this. And we're being very careful. There we go, like that. So now we can go in here and select that face. Okay. And we're just going to go ahead and extrude that up. Okay. Give that little gap that we need, so Control E, hit the W key and just move it straight up like that, and there's that nice little gap we have. We're not going to go too far with it. One of the things we need to fix, though, you can see that looks pretty good, so it's going to look really nice. And we're really not adding too many more vertices or faces here, so I think we're okay. and select face, and it's going to look much nicer. So I'm going to click on this, go to face mode, select the end here, that's important, and delete that. There we go. Alright, so that piece looks like that, and the blade goes inside, and the blade now, the top of the blade can be ousted, like this part right here can be taken off, delete, because they're inside of each other. There we go. Looks really good. And so, alright, that looks great. Alright, I'm going to stop here. We're going to do a couple things before we move on. So I'm going to go ahead and select the whole entire thing and go into object mode. Okay, I'm going to click on delete by type history right here and freeze transformations. Again, you can go to edit delete by type history this way as well. Okay, edit delete by type history, and then modify freeze transformations. Okay, and then you're all clean. And what I would do is click off, go into file, save scene as, and again, I'm not saving enough during that time, but I'm doing basically a lecture, so I'm not going to stop every 5 minutes. So you should be stopping a lot more often than I am. Again, I like to live dangerously, and I don't think you want to. All right, because I've got 100 of these things laying around somewhere probably. Okay, so we don't need to mirror that over, but that looks pretty good. I like that, and I think we're good. So this is the end of this video, and I'll see you in part 3, where we're going to go ahead and mirror that over and start adding some more details to really have this stand out. Alright, I'll see you in the next video.